All right, Lindsay, we're on. Okay, we will call our meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone. And a reminder to council to disclose any pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. Is Smokey online?
Nobody.
Okay. So we have one councillor joining us, so don't we online or? Oh, okay. All right. So we'll go to approval of the agenda. Todd and Amon, questions, comments?
And just one comment, Milt, I sort of got things mixed up with my mother in terms of appointments. I may be out of here by 3 to get her organized.
We'll have you out by 3.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah. 2:50.
Got her vote.
All right, we will call the vote. All in favor of the agenda? Motion carried. Minutes of October the 14th. Rod and Amon or Todd. Any questions on the minutes? Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried. Public meeting, nil. Delegations, nil. Closed session. So today we are going to go into closed session first, which is a little different than usual. So a motion here, a recommendation that council move into closed meeting with the CAO and clerk in attendance pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended for the following reasons. A proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality, arena property update. Motion to Todd and Amon, all in favor. Motion carried. Is it okay?
Slow, I guess. Yes.
Yeah, I know. You got to go quick. Are we ready? Or?
Good to go.
Yeah. All right. So coming into closed, council met in closed session with the CAO and clerk in attendance to discuss a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality. And it's the arena property update. And council also accepted the closed session minutes from October the 14th, 2025. And direction was given to the CAO. That concluded our discussion in camera. So now we will go to consideration of agenda items. Item on the agenda is agenda item A, and it's Cobide Engineering, Stephen Cobean, and Drainage Superintendent. And Amy Hoffarth. Okay. That's good. And it's Public Works Managers Report number 25-23-78, Major Improvement Request, Judges Creek Municipal Drain. And Stephen, are you going to give us a bit of an update or okay? Yeah, we could. Okay. You can just come to the desk there and turn on the mic.
Thank you very much. I'm actually going to pass the reins on to Amy. She's going to make the
Right.
report.
Right off the bat.
Yes.
Right. Good afternoon, Mayor McKeever, councillors, staff, and any members of the public that are here. My name is Amy Hoffarth, and I'm with Cobide Engineering in Hanover. So I just wanted to thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak this afternoon regarding the Section 78 Notice of Request for Drain Major Improvement pursuant to the Drainage Act as it relates to Judges Creek. So on July 17th, a Section 78 notice for drain major improvement was received by the clerk of the Municipality in Northern Bruce Peninsula. And as per the process set forth in the Drainage Act, a project scoping meeting was held in order to identify the concerns that prompted the request. So from the project scoping meeting, it was decided that a thorough inspection of the entire Judges Creek Municipal Drain, the main branch, from Pike Bay Road to Bruce Road 9, be conducted to identify concerns brought forward from the project scoping meeting, as well as review the general conditions of the Judges Creek main drain. So on Tuesday, September 9th, 2025, Steve Cobean, who's the drainage superintendent for Northern Bruce Peninsula, and myself kayaked the entire drain. We started at Pike Bay Road and went all the way down to just before Bruce Road 9 where the falls are. So during the physical inspection, we took several photos, documented obstructions, bank and drain bottom conditions, flow patterns, water levels, and substrate depths. Following the physical inspection, we also surveyed all 7 of the culverts that exist within the main drain profile. This survey allowed us to see if any of the existing culverts were holding back flows and if they required clean out due to substrate and sediment accumulation. The information from the physical inspection and from the survey has been compiled within a report that was dated October 24th, 2025, which has been provided to you all. And the original requester also got this report prior to this meeting. So based on the information and recommendations provided within the report, the following actions are recommended for Judges Creek from Pike Bay Road to Bruce Road 9 at this time. So a removal of sediment and substrate from all culverts within the drain that have been identified within the report. Remove and reconstruct any low-level crossings within the drain that are holding back flows just to improve the flows within the drain. Remove the unauthorized riffle pools that were, they're also holding back water, so we want to improve the flow. Remove all obstructions within the downstream section from Barrow Bay Road to County Road 9. So if you've had a chance to look through the inspection report, there was quite a few large fallen ash trees that have accumulated quite a bit of debris. So those also should be removed. We did find a beaver dam about 114 meters west of concession 4. So we recommend that is also removed. Removal of upstream end of the culvert crossing at concession 10. There's quite a bit of riprap that seems to be kind of making the flow through there somewhat narrow. So if we just could kind of place that a little bit better, we think that would also help. Spot cleanouts at the various locations just to remove the cattail growth and any sedimentation and substrate that's within the drain. We also found that the west invert of the culvert at Highway 6, so that's an MTO culvert, is considerably higher at approximately 0.5 meter than the upstream culvert at Side Road 10. So that poses quite a problem, but as we all know, having that lowered may be quite a task at this point. And it was also only installed approximately 10 years ago or so. We've also suggested that anywhere where the drains maybe have been widened beyond its original drain profile, that the banks be repaired. So based on our inspection and the information that we've provided within the report, we don't recommend a Section 78 major improvement at this time. But what we would recommend is that Section 74 maintenance, repair, and improvement be completed at this time. Thank you.
All right, Amy, thank you. So the major improvement, what would that mean? Or what would that look like?
Through the Drainage Act, the major improvement requests would require basically what we did, an inspection, and then depending on how we moved forward, if it was a recommendation to proceed through council, it would mean hiring a drainage engineer, and there's whether it's us or another company to just basically go through the whole drain, look at if there's other, it would open up to all the property owners within the watershed. This is Judges Creek's quite a large watershed.
Yeah.
I forget how many properties that are within the watershed, but there's quite a few. I mean, reopening the previous report that was completed, and then all costs would be associated to those property owners, depending on what the extent of the improvement would be. The Mr. Herbshot's original request is he cannot get on his land in the spring quick enough to start working the land when he needs to. So his hopes was to improve the drainage, and if that meant, what we found was that the Highway 6 culvert is quite a bit higher than expected. That could be holding back water. If the improvement, the engineer who was doing the improvement report recommended that be lowered. There's costs associated to that. MTO would probably pick up most of those costs, but there are cost implications with everyone along the way. If there was maybe something down at Barrel Bay Road or somewhere else that the engineer thought that could improve the flow within the creek or within the drain. Again, I'm just speculating if they need to widen or improve culvert capacities for some reason. All those costs would be part of the new report and would be assessed to all property owners on a proportionate basis. Is a way we do it. Just mean we'd have to go through the Drainage Act. There's a whole process. The first one would be to appoint a drainage engineer. They would go through. It's a public process. At the end of that process, if there's a new report that would come forth to council for consideration, if that was adopted, there are appeals that the various property owners could appeal their assessments, could appeal what the drainage engineer was recommending. It could go. Usually, it's a fairly lengthy process, especially if there's appeals to hear.
So could there be appeals before you even get started? Or
no. Council would say yes or no to this request. If it's a yes, then we would proceed to appoint a drainage engineer, and then that would start the public process. It would be a meeting.
As soon as the public process started, though, could there be appeals then?
No. We go through, or the drainage engineer would go through normally, prepare a report, which would be brought back to council for consideration. That report, there'd be, this type of drain with a number of properties on it. There'd be probably more than maybe 2 or 3 public meetings. So there was one at the start of the process to kick it off. It's called the site meeting. And then just my experience with similar sized drain projects, there'd be probably 2 or 3 meetings, because you don't want to come back and just say, hey, here's what we're recommending. It's X thousands, millions of dollars or whatever it is. So we want the public to be part of that process. But along the way, there's always difference of opinions, and it could, it could be a 2 or 3 year process if that's the way we went. So when we, after our site inspection, we have to talk to Mr. Herbshot about the process. I think he's felt the same as what we recommended, that if we can take some of these obstructions under the current report, that won't need a new report. It won't need to go through that whole process. So
it looked to me like you were having a lot of fun kayaking. Other than that,
it was great time.
But you were taking elevations all along, right?
Yes. yeah, all the way from Pike Bay to essentially side road 10, there was about 2 or 3 feet of water in that drain. And then you get to, from side road 10 to highway 6, we're scraping the bottom, which was kind of puzzling. So somebody must have been deepening this section between Pike Bay Road and side road 10. It's not getting them anything, but, and then we get to highway 6 culvert, and it's like we're skimming the bottom of the culvert. So that's holding the water
trying
back.
to avoid is people going and working on the drains without permission.
Yes.
So that's what we're trying to avoid.
Yep.
And that's why we appointed the drainage committee, one of the reasons.
Yep.
And also to ensure that the drains are maintained. That was the other major reason that we appointed this committee, and which is Todd is a member of. So, and Jamie is as well. So yeah, okay, well, good.
Yeah. So again, our recommendation, there's this riffle pool, which predates my time. I think this one of the sportsman club had put these riffle pools in. It's holding back water, so it's holding back about 2.5 feet of water just downstream of Pike Bay Road. So that may help Mr. Shot's needs.
Well, help everybody.
Yeah, upstream.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was one of my questions. I've never heard of a riffle pool, so maybe you can give me a sort of description on what.
Yeah. It's basically just clear stone, a lot of clear stone, just put across the cross section of the drain. And it just is actually, it's like a dam, basically. It raises the water level, and then the water just cascades down it. There was a picture of it in Amy's report, but it's basically, it's about this high. We had portage around it. And if we could take that all down, take that out, the water levels is naturally going to be finding that level, starting at the downstream where it is now, working its way back. So every inch counts on that drain. So I think that will have some noticeable effect upstream. And then there's a couple other just through that section, over the years it's just built up with silt and there's a lot of cattails in certain sections.
They're man-made then, obviously.
Yes. The riffle pools, from what I understand, and I'm not sure if Troy knows more of the history, but he's about the same as me then. There's several along the way, all the way down to Loose Barrel Bay. There's some through Mr. Forbes's property that have been removed over the years. The Sportsman Club apparently came in at some point in time, thought it was a good idea to put them in for the fish, I think. Okay. But they're unauthorized, as we've noted in our report, which means they're not part of the original engineer's report for the drain. And we're not sure when they went in, but they've been there for a while. And again, some of them, there's probably about 6 or 7 along the way, but most of them have been removed over the years. This one's probably the last that we can figure that's still kind of in the same state as when it first went in. But it's holding back, like I say, 2.5 feet of water.
Yeah.
So one more question, a major reconstruction, the cost of a portion of the people with
Yes.
get advantage of that, right? The minor maintenance is a municipal responsibility.
Yes.
And there's no cost apportioned to adjacent landowners.
There is, similar to what we've been doing on the Fern Creek drain over the last 2 months or so. That's be similar. We're doing maintenance on that drain right now. That's all assessed back to the property owners.
The total cost or
The total cost. Yeah. So the engineer's report, the original engineer's report that was approved through bylaw of council for all the drains has a maintenance schedule, and it breaks it up basically percentage of breaks it down to percentages of each property, what they owe for the future clean out maintenance of that drain.
Would that be a stumbling block or a grounds for appeal? Somebody that
that's etched in stone through bylaw of council. So can't appeal that.
You have to have a whole new engineering report to get a new assessment, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yes. All right. Any further questions? Comments? Yes, come on.
Just a question about that one culvert that like it's a half meter, I believe, higher than the one upstream. Is that a major issue? I'm not sure how significant that is. Is that something that needs to be looked at some point?
I think it is part of the problem.
Yeah.
It's higher than the side road 10 culvert that just went in, as we know. I don't know how, like that Highway 6 culvert, I think went in maybe 2015 or maybe around that time, 10 years ago or more.
Yeah, the choice was yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's before my time, so I don't know how that got set, or we call the invert, the bottom of the culvert. We're not sure how that invert elevation got set. It is where it's at now, and yeah, that's probably holding back. That is holding back water. We shot all the bottom of the culverts all the way up. We're gonna have a better idea. We don't have that drawing done yet, but we just finished that work last week. But that's interesting to see how that relates to the Pike Bay Road culvert too. So right now we're just knowing that it would be a quite expensive and onerous process to get to lower that culvert. We went through it on the Pettigrew drain a couple of years ago, where that culvert got set too high, and we worked on with the MTO trying to get a low flow culvert installed on that drain, because again every inch, every millimeter counts on that drain too. And then it went so long that MTO actually, it was on their docket to replace, so they replaced the culvert and set it down to the correct invert that we needed. So I'm suspecting MTO is not going to be replacing that culvert anytime soon. You know, we could look into the low flow culvert idea too. Again, my experience with MTO on the Pettigrew drain was it was a long process, and then by that time it was time to replace that culvert. So we'll have to discuss that more and discuss that with Mr. Herbshot too. But I think what we want to do is just take out these obstructions now. Let's see what happens. And then we'll decide where to go then.
Yeah.
Mr. Herbshot on that.
It's not what my question was. Like maintenance actions, do you think will be enough to fix the drainage issues? And this is like just something to keep an eye on?
I'm not sure. Just, we took out definitely that riffle pool. That's 2.5 feet that's being held back upstream. So see if that helps.
Is this elevation difference going to be a problem in the future? Like, should we start the process now to fix it, or?
We could, yeah. Either look at that. We call it this low flow culvert idea. You could directionally drill a culvert across there at a lower elevation. That's just going to take your low flows. It's not going to alleviate the flooding that's happened upstream on between, I guess, upstream of side road 10 all the way up, past Pike Bay Road. That's not going to alleviate that. But and I guess we're going to have some more dialogue with Mr. Herbshot too. After, I think we'd like to proceed with just taking these obstructions out, see what that happens. Then we'll know where to go from there.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Any further questions? Todd?
I was just wondering if we wanted to, if we do go ahead with the maintenance items, if we put those to the drainage committee for their input before we give the final okay, if that's something to consider. I know there is a proposed drainage committee meeting this week, and then we could.
So can we approve it subject to? Could we do that, I wonder, or?
I may have to defer to the clerk.
Yep, I think so.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So today we do have to deal with the request regarding the major improvement. So the council on the table, the question on the table is, does council accept it? It's in the recommendation that's on the floor as well. In terms of the maintenance items, that is built into the recommendation. So I think if council were to approve the recommendation as presented, I don't see why we couldn't bring it to the drainage committee to discuss the maintenance items as presented in the report. Mr. Cobean did present his recommendations for maintenance, and that's his professional opinion that, you know, I don't necessarily think will change, but if council wishes to bring the report to the drainage committee to review and provide comment, I don't see any issue with that. I don't know that it would change the recommendation that's on the floor. And I will just know we don't have a mover and seconder yet, so it's not quite on the floor.
No.
So maybe we should do that first, but I think we can figure out a way to involve the committee sort of afterwards, but we do have to sort of stick with the legislative process. And the Drainage Act says that we need council to make a decision on this actual request for major improvement.
So it sounds like we have to make a decision here, Todd. And I don't see any reason why we can't. Well, the drainage committee, we can put it to the drainage committee for their review and input. But it's council that has to make a decision.
Absolutely, that's correct.
Yes. All right, so we get a mover and seconder. Rod and Juan. The recommendation reads that council receives the report titled Public Works 25-23, Section 78, Major Improvement Request, Judges Creek Municipal Drainage Information. And the council accepts the recommendation for the municipality's drainage superintendent, Stephen Cobean, Cobean Engineering, Inc., and the request for a major improvement on Judges Creek Municipal Drain under Section 78 of the Drainage Act shall not be accepted. And the council directs the drainage superintendent to proceed with the maintenance items as recommended. So that's the motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Yes, Steve.
If I might add, if council does accept that motion, under the Drainage Act, it is any recommendation is appealable. So the Mr. Shop could appeal the decision not to carry on, but just wanted to highlight that, and that goes to the drainage tribunal. It's a formal process. So
all right, so that's the recommendation, and we'll call the vote on that. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. So that is item A. Item B on the agenda is Cobide Engineering, Stephen Cobean, Drainage Superintendent, and Amy Hoffarth. Am I saying that right yet? Not yet. Go. What is it again?
Hoffarth.
Hoffarth.
Yes.
Okay, I'll get it. Takes a while sometimes, but. So this is Stephen again, and Amy, and this is a rather minor request compared to the other one, I guess. So we will get it mover and second right off the bat. Todd? Sure. And I'm on. All right, Stephen, you're on. And Amy.
Hello, thank you again. I'm not going to reintroduce myself, but
No. So my benefit.
So on October 8th, Section 78 Notice of Request for Drain Minor Improvement was received by the clerk for the Municipality of Northern Bruce Peninsula. As per the procedure set forth by the Drainage Act, it was determined that the request was valid under a minor improvement project under the Drainage Act. So the subject property is located at Lot 10, Concession 4, East Barry Road within the Municipality of Northern Bruce Peninsula. So in order for a drainage project to be considered a minor improvement, it has to meet all of the following criteria. It's initiated by the owner of an individual property or two or more adjacent properties that are owned by the same individual or related parties. The initiating property owner is paying for all costs of the project. The project does not require access from neighboring properties, or written consent has been received from the owners of the neighboring properties. Proof of consent must be provided to the municipality when the project is requested, and the project will not result in changes to how future repair and maintenance costs are collected and allocated to property owners in the watershed. B, change the drainage capacity or potential erosion. C, result in the drain being enclosed, or D, take place within any wetlands. So essentially, this request was for a crossing to provide the landowner to get access from his one property to the next, which are adjacent to one another. So based on that, we believe this request meets all the criteria that I have outlined, and we're recommending that this can go through a minor improvement process. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Amy. Any questions on this one? If not, the council receives, make sure I'm on the right one. Council receives a report, Public Works 2522, titled Municipal Request for a Drain Minor Improvement, Judges Creek Branch E, Whitehall, as information. And the council accepts the request for a drain minor improvement, Judges Creek Branch E, Whitehall, and authorizes the clerk and drainage superintendent to take the appropriate action to proceed with the engineer's minor improvement report under Section 78 of the Drainage Act, and that the clerk forwards a notice advising of the proposed drainage works to applicable agencies and other prescribed persons as per Section 78(2) of the Drainage Act. And that council appoints Amy and Cobide Engineering, Inc. Do you notice I skipped over that? To complete the minor improvement report under Section 78 of the Drainage Act. Any further questions on that one? Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you, Steve and Amy.
Thank you.
I appreciate your input today. Good. Thank you. All right, we'll move to item C on the agenda. M&P, Robyn, Strangway-Calder, and Traci Smith. Welcome.
Please excuse me.
Yes.
I'm Brian Earnshaw. Thank you all, counselors and staff for your work in the industry.
Yep. Take care. So, whoever is, looks like Robyn's getting ready to speak.
Okay. I'd like to thank council for having us here today. I'm Robyn Strangway-Calder, and this is Traci Smith. We're from the M&P Owen Sound Office, formerly BDO. Effective January 1st, 2025, our office, engagement partners, and team transitioned to M&P along with 20 other BDO rural offices, including all offices from the Grey Bruce region down to Mount Forest, Orangeville, and back around to Collingwood. M&P is a Canadian firm established in 1958 with 150 offices from coast to coast. M&P's business model is designed to support its clients, team members, and communities with a locally focused approach. However, as a national firm, local team members are able to access national resources and specialty services as clients may need. The letter to council and the independent auditor's report is from M&P. However, it will look similar to prior years as it meets the requirements of the Canadian auditing standards. We would like to thank Teresa, Marcia, Cheryl, and the finance team for their assistance they provided during the audit. We are presenting both the 2023 and 2024 financial statements. However, we're going to go over the highlights of the 2024 statements as it includes the 2023 comparative amounts. As your auditor, it is our responsibility to communicate with those charged with governance. The letter on the screen with the fuzzy picture and M&P is our required communication to council. We will present a short overview of our communication as required under auditing standards, followed by the 2024 statements. I would encourage you to ask any questions as we go along. I'll be happy to stop as requested. So if we can scroll a couple of pages down to the engagement status in the letter. The financial statements on the next page, please. The financial statements are in draft form until approved by council and management signs the representation letter. Then we need to complete our subsequent event procedures up to that audit report date, which is that date the letter is signed. The independent auditor's report will provide an unmodified opinion, which means it's a clean opinion. And we'll look at that audit report separately when we switch over to the statements. On the next page, we go over the standard risk areas and responses. I will just highlight that there were no management override of controls noted in the periods of 2023 and 2024. The next page highlights some of the significant notes that are in the statements. And if we keep moving on, this page highlights that there was a new standard in 2023 that, again, I will go over more in the financial statements themselves on the balance sheet. That's the asset retirement obligation. And on the next page, we'll pause for a moment where we can see that the final materiality for 2024 was $500,000, and in 2023, materiality was $450,000. We do have a required fraud discussion with those charged with governance. Again, under the Canadian auditing standards, no incidents of fraud or suspected fraud came to our attention during the course of the audit. Should you become aware of any instances of fraud, please notify us directly. In regards to internal controls, our review of controls was not sufficient to express an opinion as to their effectiveness or efficiency, because that's not the purpose of the financial statement audit. Any of the controls that we tested, no significant deficiencies were found or came to our attention. So that means that the purchases controls, payroll controls were operating as they should. In regards to unadjusted differences, in 2023, the only unadjusted differences related to an estimated future taxes related to supplementals that you may collect in the future years related to prior years. Management's opinion is that it is immaterial, and should the members of council agree with this assessment, we do not propose any further adjustments to 2023, and there were no unadjusted differences for 2024. On the final page, we refer to that representation letter that management signs, and then a copy has been included in Appendix C. And then we refer to our auditor independence. We do include a detailed letter in Appendix D, but basically the preparation of the financial statements, including all the disclosures in the notes, is the responsibility of your management team. Although we can assist in formatting and making suggestions on wording, all the numbers are provided by your management team. From the accounting records of the municipality, I can confirm that M&P, as your auditor, we are independent, and we are able to provide an independent opinion on the financial statements prepared by your management team. With that, I'd like to move over to the 2024 draft audited financial statements for a high-level overview. I guess before I do that, did anyone have any questions about the letter? It is pretty standard year to year. Yep. Okay. So in the 2024 draft audited financial statements, that looks like it might be a separate document. It's not in the appendices to the letter, sorry. And if we can go to page 2 where the independent auditor's report is. So as previously stated, management is responsible for preparing the financial statements. And as auditors, it's our responsibility to give an opinion on the financial statements. It is an audit, and the highest level of assurance it is the highest level of assurance that can be provided by a public accountant. If you go down to the second paragraph, you can see that in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the municipality as at December 31st, 2024, and the same opinion was issued for 2023. Therefore, it is a clean audit opinion issued for both years, and we had no issues or concerns that came to our attention. The remainder of the audit is standard wording outlining the responsibility of council, management, and the auditors. If there's no questions about the audit report, then let's move to the financial statements themselves, page 4 for the statement of financial position. The statement of financial position is the balance sheet, and it provides a snapshot of the finances and balances as at December 31st, 2024, and the comparative column is 2023. For 2024, you'll note that the cash balance is 11.63 million, which is down approximately 5 million from 2023. That is because $3 million just moved to that second line, temporary investments, and the additional 2 million was spent on tangible capital assets, so investing in infrastructure. Taxes receivable for 2024 was 1.5 million, up approximately 358,000 from prior year. This was due primarily to large supplementals being billed near year end in the year, as well as some current and prior year balances increasing year over year. Trade receivables for 2024 was 2.6 million. It's about $800,000 or $900,000 higher than last year due to capital receivables at the end of the year, and it's just a timing issue.
If I could.
Yes.
So my report I have here is 23 and 22.
Could we go to the 2024? There should be two sets of financial statements. If we could go to the 2024 draft audited statements, please.
What page are they?
In your agenda package.
Starts 49.
49, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, no wonder it wasn't making sense. Yeah.
Sorry, I guess I should have looked at this screen. The other screen is kind of small.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
Okay.
I'm with you.
with me now. Okay, so the trade and other receivables was what I had just mentioned. So 2.6 million up from last year due to receivables relating to capital, just a timing issue around the year end. Coming down to total assets of 19.3 million, a decrease from last year's 19.6 million. Next are liabilities. Total liabilities for 2024 were 3.3 million compared to last year's 3.1 million. Accounts payable and accrued liabilities is 1.7, up a little bit from last year, primarily due to amounts due from developers, so amounts collected in advance of in accordance with developers agreements that are out there. The new item is the asset retirement obligation. And so you'll see for 2024, it has a balance of 485,455, and last year was 464. This essentially replaces that old liability for closure and post-closure costs of landfills, as well as adds on to it. So this accounting standard was new for 2023, that the municipality was required to recognize its liability for asset retirement obligations. It is the present value of the estimated cost to remediate the assets when the asset is retired in the future. The majority of these estimated future costs, as I said, relates to the closure and post-closure costs of the municipality's 3 landfill sites and the remediation of asbestos present in 4 municipal buildings. This is an accounting standard that was adopted using a modified retrospective approach, which does mean that if you did look at those 2023 statements, the 2022 comparative amounts have been restated to reflect this new standard. This liability is unfunded. It does result in an annual expense on the statement of operations, similar to amortization, except it's referred to as accretion expense. And so it increases that liability over time, so that when you get to the end of the life of that asset and that remediation or those closure costs of the landfill will occur, the liability is at its greatest, at its highest point when that asset is ready to be removed or remediated. However, just like amortization, the accretion expense is not part of your normal operating expenses when setting your budgets. It is, however, a cost to consider in your long-term capital replacement plans. So that's the asset retirement obligation liabilities. The next 2 liabilities are your WSIB future benefit cost liabilities and post-employment benefits liabilities, which are determined based on an actuarial's report that management obtains, and that relates to future benefit costs. Deferred revenue is $455,000, up about $1,845 from prior year, and long-term liabilities of $472,000 only went down about $10,000 in the year because that's the net of paying down the Ontario infrastructure loan of about $100,000 and then issuing new tile drain loans. So the tile drain loans do appear in that long-term liabilities line, but then in the long-term receivables is where you have 198 receivable related to those tile drain loans. Included in the non-financial assets are inventory of supplies, so that's for internal use, fuel, salt, sand, and tangible capital assets of $47.3 million, which is up $2.9 million and net of the $6 million additions in the year, less $3 million amortization. In 2024, the $6 million tangible capital asset additions included $3.1 million related to roads and bridges, $1 million related to roads equipment, $500,000 related to fire, which included a fire truck and drones, and $463,000 related to parks and recreation. In 2023, there was a similar breakdown in the $4 million additions. On the next page, we have the statement of operations and accumulated surplus. Total revenue for 2024 was $18 million, very similar to 2023's $18 million. Taxation at $9.7 million is higher than budget, and that relates to $250,000 of supplementals collected in the year, which aren't budgeted because it just depends when MPAC completes their assessment and provides that to municipality. Fees and user charges of $3.4 million are higher than budget, primarily due to parking revenue being higher than budgeted. Government transfers at $2.6 million are a little down compared to last year. And the reason budget is so much higher is the budget included federal and provincial funding for the arena project going through, but not much progress was made in 2024. So the budget is only higher due to that project not incurring expenses in the year to get recognized. Other income of $2.2 million in 2024 is significantly higher than budget because investment income, as the interest rates were higher in 2024 and 2023, was significantly higher than budgeted because you just don't always know where those are going to land. In expenses, total expenses for 2024 were $15.8 million. I do want to note that the actual $15.8 million expenses includes $3 million for amortization, which the budget does not. And so that's why 2024 and 2023 actuals appear so much higher than budget. A few other large differences that you may notice is health services for 2023 is significantly higher at $435,000. And that's because during the year, reserves that are built up related to the hyperbaric chamber was closed and paid out to that organization upon request. As donations come in for the Bruce Peninsula Family Health Team, they come in and go into a reserve fund, and then as requested, funds are flowed out to them. And then there was also, I think, around $43,000 of repairs and maintenance related to the Tobermory Clinic. In other years, when there was maybe only about 10 or 20,000. So 2023 was just a large spike year. And then otherwise, you come down to the annual surplus of $2.2 million. The annual surplus is not the general operating surplus. The annual surplus here should appear large because this is what you use to purchase assets, pay down debt, and transfer funds into reserves. So in 2024, there was an operating surplus of $621,000 transferred to reserve per resolution, which can be seen in the budget note in note 8. And in 2023, there was an operating surplus of $868,000 that was transferred into reserves as per council resolution. And I do believe the majority of that was related to some department surpluses that were unbudgeted, as well as that very large investment income that was seen in both years. On the next page is the statement of changes in net financial assets. And this is where, if we can scroll down, sorry, to the next page. This is where you can see that we start with the annual surplus from the income statement of 2.2 million, less $6 million in capital asset additions, and then adjusting for amortization and gains loss on TCA to come down to your decrease in net financial assets of $673,000. This was budgeted to you did budget to decrease your net financial assets because you seem to be investing in infrastructure part of the cycle. So just because there is a negative, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's in line with what was budgeted, so that is appropriate. And your net financial assets came down to 15.9 million for the year. Yep.
Where you leave that, so the 12 million in brackets under the TCA, the tangible.
So that was the budgeted TCA acquisitions, and that would have again included work anticipated for if the arena project had progressed at the same level as anticipated or budgeted for 2024.
Okay.
And again, that corresponds to, if you look on the statement of operations where the government transfers was budgeted at 5.5 million. So it was, you didn't spend the money, so you didn't get the grant.
Okay.
But the budget was set in hopes that was going to happen in 2024.
All right, thank you.
So that is what I was going to go through in the main statements. Did anyone have any questions about the statements or letter?
Any questions? It's too complicated.
Well, the public sector board seems to keep adding new sections.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So the bottom line is?
The bottom line is that you were within your budget. You're investing in tangible capital assets as budgeted. You're still putting a surplus into your reserves, and it's a clean audit opinion.
Good. All right. So if any questions, anybody? Yeah. As long as our auditor understands the report, that's great. Yeah.
That was the simplified version.
Now we get the details. All right. So there is a recommendation here then is the council receive. Do we have a movement second for that? We don't. Oh. Rod and Amon. So the council receives the treasurer's report, TR 25-16 is information regarding the 23 and 24 financial statements, and the council approves the 2023-24 draft audit financial statements as prepared and presented by M&P at the regular council meeting October 27th, 2025. Any further questions? Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried. Thank you, Robyn and Traci.
I would just like to take one more minute to thank the council for having me. I'd like to announce that December 31st, I am retiring after 38 years.
Oh my goodness, only 38.
Robyn is going to be taking over, so you are left in very good hands. But I started as a co-op student in 1988, and the former municipalities of Northern Bruce Peninsula, the Lindsay and St. Edmunds and Easter, I worked on when I was a student in 1988. So I think I've been here almost as long as you.
I was going to say, I've seen Traci many times over the years, so.
I would like to thank the council and the management team here. They've been great to work with for all those years, and this is one I will very miss. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Well, yeah, well, thank you for that compliment about our staff, and we certainly appreciate the work you do for us. So thank you, and we look forward to seeing you, Robyn, in the future. Yeah, and happy retirement, Traci.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, we've appreciated your services over the years. You've been great. All right, we will go to building department. Trailer agreement, mover and second for that, Todd. Rod. And Paradise Drive, this trailer agreement, and it's your usual trailer agreement. Any questions on that? Call the vote, all in favor. Opposed, the motion's carried. Parks and Facilities Manager report, tender results for the Cobean Library and Ferndale Red Schoolhouse Gallery, stairs, ramp, and retaining walls. Mover and second by that, on. Todd. Any questions on that report? Rod?
No questions, but I see we did come to some sort of resolution with the next door neighbor about the trees and stuff like that, right, Mark? Yeah.
Yes, had a good site meeting. He's expressed his concerns. From his perspective, he'd like to see the wall moved into the parking lot a bit more, but that would us sacrificing parking spaces. So in discussing it with Peggy, we're pretty certain we can enter into an agreement going forward in terms of replacement of trees and maintenance of trees if they become affected by the construction. Because there's the demolition of the existing walls, so the tree bases and roots are pretty tight to that wall. So we may be able to remove. It may impact some trees, it may not. It'll depend as the project goes. So
They're mainly cedar, you say?
yes, they are.
Yeah,
and there's
so they're pretty hardy tree. Yeah, so hopefully. Yeah.
We will have the site surveyed before we start work, so we'll know exactly where the property line is in relation to the wall and the trees. It's all very close. But it could be a matter of inches, right? 6 inches this way or 6 inches that way. So
are the trees on our property or both properties?
they could be on ours and or both. We just don't know until that survey is confirmed.
Okay. Yeah. Any further questions? Hearing none. The council receives the Parks and Facilities Report, PF 2518, regarding tender results for the Cobean Library and Ferndale Red School House Gallery stairs, ramp, and retaining wall works as information. And the council accepts the quotation bid dated October the 16th, 2025, from 2042-578 Ontario Inc., operating as lawn landscape contractors in the amount of $235,887.71 plus HST for the reconstruction of the concrete stairs, ramp, and retaining wall works at the Cobean Library and the Ferndale Red Schoolhouse Gallery. And the council directs staff to bring forward the agreement for the restoration and replacement of trees as may be necessary along the property line with the abutting landowner. Any further questions? All the vote? All in favor? Opposed, the motion is carried. Parks and Facilities. Cobean Municipal Airport Aerodrome Operations Manual. Rod. Moved by Rod, second by Todd. I hope you like this report, Rod.
I was just going to say I'm happy to see it because the airport was always one of my pet committees and something I enjoyed. So I'm glad we're resurrecting it and doing it the right way. So thanks, Mark.
Yeah. So do we have many deficiencies, Mark, there, or do we know?
No, we're in pretty good position. We have to do some tree removal work down the south end of the runway that's through years of growth is encroaching a bit. If a plane in its course of landing had to veer to one side or the other, ideally it still needs to be able to clear the tree line. So, some of the popular tree species, they grow 2 or 3 feet a year. So that can, there are some trees approaching that limit where we need to remove them. And they'll just be cut on site and shipped. They don't have to be hauled off site or anything. And it's a good document for us to have going forward for our future staff in terms of training, guidelines, and documenting those regulations that do apply. We're not a fully registered airport, so we don't have to meet the standards of the bigger airports, but nonetheless, we want to operate with best practices, and it's great for staff to have some guidance on paper documented. So,
What is the asphalt like there?
sorry,
The asphalt.
Fair bit of cracking, but it's the span between cracking on the main runway is usually 15 to 20 feet apart, the cracks. There's no what I would call like multiple fracturing where it's crumbling to the point that its structure is crumbling. The parking area for the planes tarmac closer to the hangar buildings, the cracking is a little closer and just maybe 2 to 3 feet apart. The rubber seals are still there intact. They're not lifting. The past 2 years, there is weed growth starting to push through. So we've started spraying to control the weeds. And I do have a crack filling company that does airports going to come this fall and give us an opinion and a potential estimate on whether it's worth redoing the crack filling and how much more life would that buy the runway, whether it's 5 years or whatever. And so that we can prepare to think about, when that runway may need a major resurfacing. So.
That runway, I remember when it was done as a major project, I think it was mid-90s. Certainly the runway was well constructed, and the taxiway and the apron are not important in terms of weight bearing and then and loads and things like that. So that's apparent now. You see it in the cracking, but it was quite a construction project because it was one of the first they did with laser guided graders, get the correct elevation side to side and the whole length of the thing. And it was a big dollar item too, which we were happy to have at the time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear the report from the company that you have coming up.
Yeah, it's all part of our long-term capital budgeting strategy, right? So
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Mark. So the council receives the Parks and Facilities Report PF 25-19 regarding Tilbury Municipal Airport Aerodrome as operations manual. Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried. Item G is the clerk's report, and it's a bylaw to regulate election signs. Another good idea here. Brian seconded for that one. Lamont, Rod. Any questions? Emma?
Just one question about fences and fines. I know the fines in here that if you violate this bylaw, you're violating, is it section 425 of the Municipal Act? Is there a specific fine schedule with that too, or?
Thank you. And that's actually a really good question. So this whereas section is, I kind of just put it in here as some standard verbiage, but in speaking with our bylaw department and our CAO, we decided not to include the fine schedule just because I was looking at what other municipalities had in Bruce County, and they were having fine schedules of, let's say, $100 charged to someone who improperly placed a sign. We didn't feel that operationally it would be good to be using our resources to sort of hunt folks down and charge them the $100. It's enough for us to be able to just simply remove it and then store it. Just that's sort of where we decided not to include the fine schedule, and then it would have created delays in terms of contacting the Crown and getting their approval, and we just didn't find that it was quite worth it. So that's why there isn't a fine schedule included in the sign bylaw, and we have the authority to remove improperly placed signage, and we figured that was enough.
All right. Any further questions? The council enacts a bylaw to regulate election signs in the municipality of Northern Bruce Peninsula. Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried. Museum Committee. Mover and seconder for that. Todd, Amon. Minutes of September the 21st. Any questions? Call the vote. All in favor? Motion carried. Did I say minutes of September the 11th? It should be. Yes. Accounts payable vouchers, September 2025. Mover and second for accounts, Rod. Come on. Any questions on accounts? Just one question. Do you know it's Corey Asset Management? Do you know? You can look at it and let me know. It's on page 4 of the accounts. It's not important that I hear it. I get it right now. That's fine. I was just wondering what they were. Any further questions on accounts? Council approves the accounts payable voucher for September 2025 in the amount of $4,251,940.71. Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Other business. I'm on.
Yeah, I just wanted to beat a dead horse here again regarding cell service issues throughout the municipality. In particular, one concern was just even with our existing towers, we had that big power outage last year or this past spring. Yeah, those towers died out after 3 or 6 hours, and then there was essentially no service anywhere. I think we had to discuss reaching out to the major cell companies. Not sure if they ever received a response. It'd be something nice to have addressed before the winter, so we don't run into that issue again.
I'll just turn that over to Alex.
Sorry, did you say that council had previously referred the request to staff?
We may have. I might not be
Okay.
positive on.
No, we did.
We did.
Yes. No.
Okay, let me take a look and follow up and see which staff member was assigned, and then we can go from there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Probably Peggy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll check with her when she gets back.
Yeah.
Can I add to something
Yes,
that
sure,
Ron
yeah.
said?
Yeah.
Because to add to that as well, I was made aware of a 911 call that somebody on Cape Chin North tried to make and they couldn't get through. Because I was always under the impression that automatically would go through.
The emergency call.
Emergency call.
Yes.
So they had a real pickle trying to get a hold of an ambulance on Cape Chin North. So we add that to the mix.
All right. Any further? Yes, Rod?
Just something to go in the minutes. Tip of the hat to Fire Chief Jack Burt for representing the municipality at the Sources of Knowledge forum they had this weekend. He did a great job and impressed a lot of people. So thanks to Jack.
Yeah. Yeah. I was there as well, and I didn't hear Jack, unfortunately, but I was at the event in the evening and I had lots of comments, positive comments about his presentation. So yeah, good. All right. Any other business? Correspondence? No correspondence?
Oh, real start.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Rod. Yeah. All right, we'll go to bylaws then. So we'll just go. We only have 3 of them, actually, too. So bylaw 2025-71 is a adopt a volunteer recognition award policy. And bylaw 2025-72 is a bylaw to regulate election signs. And a confirmatory bylaw is 2025-73. Mover and seconder for bylaws. Amon and Todd. Any questions? Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Brings us to adjournment. Rod and Amon. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.